I think they got an underwater calendar and know when it's the weekend.
Well, I always say it's like Pavlov's dog. You know, he got a dog and fed him, and the dog was like, yeah, thank you, because he was hungry. You know, he was pretty hungry. And then next time the guy came out there, was going to feed his dog, and he didn't put out any food. And the dog was like, what's up with that, man? I'm hungry, you know? And then that guy, he fed him. And then, you know, next time around, you know, his dog was looking at him, he was like, man, I'm hungry. And the guy didn't feed him. The dog was looking at him, he was like, what's your problem, man? I am freaking starving over here. And then finally the guy, he reached out behind that couch there, you know, and he rung that little bell, rang a bell, you know. And the dog's like, what's up with that? And then he fed him. And the dog's like, well, that was weird. And then, anyway, then he was, you know, I was like, looking at him again. He's like, man, I'm hungry. And once again, the guy, you know, he rang the dinner bell. And the dog's like, what's up with this bell, you know? And then he fed him. And then, so then the dog's like, hey, I better eat, because this guy is liable not. Who knows what he's going to do. He's weird with this bell thing. And then he's sitting there, and the dog's like, man, I'm not even hungry, you know.
This is the longest story ever.
Well, he rings the bell.
Good
And the
Lord.
dog looks at him and he's like, man, I'm not even hungry. And he puts out the food, you know, like, here, eat. And the dog's like, well, I'm not hungry. And the guy looks at the dog and he's like, all right, fine. And he takes the food away. And the dog's like, what the heck? Maybe I might want to eat that later. And then a little later came and the dog's like, man, I'm kind of hungry. He's looking at the guy, and the guy's looking at the dog, and he's like, look, man, I tried to feed you, but you didn't want it. And he wouldn't feed him. And then, like, the next day, you know, he's looking at the guy like, man, you're not very nice. And then that guy, he looks at him funny, and he rings the bell. And that dog's like, oh. And then he puts out the food, that dog's like, I'm hungry, I'm eating, you know. So he eats.
Yeah, come on, stop. End the story. I'm done with it.
Well, this is where the good part is. This is the really good part. Like, so then the dog,
and on and on and on.
the dog's like, he rings the bell, and the dog, his eyes pop up, you know, and then he just, man, he's like, he eats, you know, because he feeds him. And then he's looking at him again, and he won't feed him, and he's just like, okay. And when the guy rang the bell, the dog was conditioned to eat. And he would be
You
there.
could have said that in one sentence, but instead we got a whole 5-minute freaking dialogue that lost the audience in like the first 30 seconds.
Well, what I'm saying is like this lake, you know, Monday through Friday, the fish are like, they get a break, you know? And then come Saturday and Sunday, and they got everybody and their brother out here beating them in the head with some kind of lure. And so they're like, after a few of them get yanked out, they're like, hey, what happened? Where'd my buddy go?
No, they're not that smart.
Well, and then they're like, what I'm saying is they don't eat on Saturday and Sunday.
Jeez.
And, you know, too, man, I tell you, been saying
You're
this.
always telling me.
I've always said this been saying this for a while now. When they get above, say 16 inches, 15 inches, then the TWRA, they come in here and shock
No, they
them.
don't.
And they take them down there to Chickamauga.
No, they don't. Would you? Come
Or over
on,
to Old
dude.
Hickory.
That's old broken.
Is that
That's an old broken record.
Is that a conspiracy theory?
Move on.
I don't know. I think it's true. Hey, so all right, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. It's free. It helps. It really does. Okay, what we got going on is a neighbor brought me the boat. I've done a couple of jobs for her. And she had this tracker that her husband bought because he's into fishing now. That's a story I got. Anyway, I don't know what the year is on this boat. Tournament TXS bass tracker. And if you guys know me, you know I'm not big on bass trackers. I think the boat itself, the aluminum boat itself, is a pretty good solid boat. But everything else, the switches kind of go funky, a little wonky. So we got maybe some things I don't like, some things I like. Anyway, we're gonna work on this guy and see if we can get her motor running. She's got an old Mercury 850 on it, 85 horsepower. So it's a lot of motor for this boat. And I looked and, you know, live wells up here. Didn't have a battery. So I just pulled a battery out of my garage to see if I can get it to turn over or do anything. But I don't have a key. So I have to trick the engine into thinking that it's basically that it can fire. So I can trick it, some jumper cables, some videos on this before. Essentially, you just, you know, when it's key on, we'll take that, make sure that the switch box has got power, jump red to the white on the terminal of your power pack, and then, you know, make sure it's not getting ground to the, anyway, we just won't have choke, but that's fine, because we can go ahead and see what compression numbers we have, and we can also look at, I don't know, starting circuit first, then compression numbers, but see if it starts. Okay, so what we'll want to do is, you know, take and see if I can get it to fire, so if it will, the starter circuit works. That's our first step. Just see if it'll start, see if it's locked up. This seems to be moving our impeller, so we could test this theory right away. I'll put it in gear. I heard it click, so I think it's in gear. Let's see if it will even turn. We have no way for this to try to start on us, so never do this with the key on the on position, ever. Don't ever do this. This is very dangerous. If it was hooked up to a battery, and of course it's not, and the key was on, so never try it. But I can tell that, yeah, it seems to be fine. It's not locked up. This is good news. So yeah, it'll kind of click that way, and I can hear it moving in the power head. So we don't have a locked up engine. That's the number one thing going on. I've got the batteries on the other boat charging. I don't think this battery is charged, so I'm going to have to wait. And I think a battery pack is kind of the thing coming up that I need to do or buy. That way I can just walk out here, clip the leads on it. Okay, so it doesn't have a key. There's no fuel in the tank. I'm going to disconnect the tank. But yeah, this is going to have to come apart some point to see what's going on inside of here. And it needs to be a general cleaning. So I did have spark. I got spark. I didn't record that because I have videos on the 850 doing this. I checked spark. We didn't have spark. And you can do that by jumpering the switch box. Just go red to white. No spark. What happened is on the other side, they had this connected to the trigger side of the switch box, which I think was giving some problems. And they drilled through the cowling to do this. Crazy. I don't know what they were doing. Anyway, remove that. Now we have spark. Check the spark plugs. They're all good plugs. Throw them in. Bring out my remote tank. Go ahead and see if I can get it to fire. I will have to, because I don't have a switch, I will have to jump a red and white again. So if it does start and it's, we'll go ahead, we can pull those if we need to, kill the engine or disconnect the fuel. Now I looked in my part stuff and I have a connector for the old style tilt trim pump. And so I disconnected theirs because I can obviously see the switch is bad. Kind of need to operate the tilt trim just to see if I can, get it running. But so I disconnected theirs. I'm gonna take this one and then I just have to touch leads up or down. Throw that in there. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna throw this in here. Down here's what I'm talking about. Wherever I laid that, see, here it is again. Laying stuff around, can't remember where it went. Anyway, this just plugs in, unless this is bad. Try to get out of the way so you can see it. This one's not, it's not fastened down, so you have to really kind of wrench on it. Alright, let's see here. Let's see if anything happens. Alright, well I hear a... Alright. Okay, may have a bad solenoid. Alright, that's motor down, I think. Hey! Sometimes... Alright, well for now, set this out of the way. So yeah, now I can get my tub underneath there. Well, that's good news. Just needs a couple of switches. I would mount a switch back here. Well, looks like they have. Okay, we'll have to see if that one's working or not. Pull my one out, see if this works. Yeah. Yeah, it's not good, but maybe it's a little contact up and down, it'll start working. So, okay, I got my remote tank because I know I got good fuel. I got my remote start. It's kind of crazy big. I want to get one of those little bitty ones, but this works. The idea was to add a bunch of switches and do a bunch of extra stuff, but honestly, you don't really. Anyway, I've got some switches here. So, yeah, anyway, got spark, got our red to white grounded. We got the tub with water. It's filled up because we don't know the condition of the water pump. I guess we could shove some weed eater line in there. The fuel line looks pretty rotted, needs to be replaced. But I put some fuel in it. Did notice a little bit of fuel come out at the top of the carbs, but still seems to be holding. Anyway, we're gonna manually choke it because we don't have a choke. We don't even have a key switch over there. So we're just gonna, luckily this one's still hooked up and we've got this little manual choke up here. Let's just kind of get her lubed up, I guess. So if the engine is run away, we have 3 ways to kill it. One, we could do it with this choke. We'll just pull the choke lever back up and choke it, and that should kill the engine. We could pull our jumper cable between the red and the white of the power pack, or we could pull the fuel and let it just run out of fuel. So yeah, we're just gonna choke her up. This thing is, wow, it is tight. All right, well, let's see what happens. And then I guess I could try to put up my warm-up lever. I'm assuming that still works. Yeah, I don't even see anything move. So we're just gonna try to start it like this to see what happens. Nothing. All right. So maybe throw a little carb clean in here. I don't know if I can spray it up in there or not. Probably not. Maybe take these few plugs out, see if I smell any fuel. Yeah, nothing. Put some well, this is the wrong stuff. Yeah, Berryman's. Was it what's his name? Derek calls it the Italian tuna. I don't know why it's Italian. See if it pops off. If it is, then we know it's a carb issue. You know, I've already checked the spark plugs, so we got 3 good plugs. A little bit too much there. I won't be able to reach the bottom cylinder, but I just want to get a couple of them to pop off. They can't see me. It's way too much. All right, let's see what happens. Yeah. So we definitely got a carb issue. Yeah, no sense going any further because I know it's a carb issue. Carbs will have to be pulled off and cleaned and replace the fuel line that looks like it's maybe deteriorating. This is the style you'll have to go buy. I think it's 5/16 MPT fittings to redo your lines. This one's okay. It looks like somebody's replaced this line, but you'll have to do the one going out of the top carburetor, and you'll have to do the one that's going into the bottom carburetor, and follow those three. There's 3 lines, and so then, you know, probably fuel pump, since you're doing the whole fuel system, and then it'll run. I know it'll run. All right, well, you can see I've got this all torn apart. Kind of took the carbs off and cleaned them, and just getting ready to put it all back together. I'm gonna have to do some, of course, always on these, you have to basically replace fuel line. This fuel line was just for their oil, goes down and around. But usually coming out of the fuel pump, you're gonna need a fitting. And then coming out of the bowls, you're gonna need a fitting. And so Mercury has these little bowls that sit on top. There's a filter underneath there and a screw tightens it down. But back in the day, they made these fittings were crimped. So anyway, we can't get those type of fuel line anymore. So what I suggest to do is just go get some 1/8 inch, it's national pipe tape by 15/16 inch fuel line fitting. So we're going to put those on there, and you're going to need a few of them. I think so. Coming out of the fuel pump on this side, goes into our top carburetor, comes out, goes down to our bottom carburetor, which is this fuel bowl. So we're just going to put this in here, and then I use this compound. I got this at Ace Hardware, and it's just pipe thread compound, and use on water, steam, natural gas, airlines. It even says that it's helps seal threaded joints of pipes carrying water, steam, natural gas, airlines, reduces rust and allows easy disassembly. You know, I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure that when I looked at this that it's fuel resistant. Of course, I could put this in a vise or something, but I don't need to do that. Some of them already have elbows. So you have to look and make sure that yours has the elbow or doesn't have the elbow. But they don't really come without it. Come with them. So it's 9/16. Yeah. Let's take a 9/16 box wrench. Will fit right on there, and then I'll just try to tighten this as best I can without stripping it. There we go. That's plenty. So I'm close. I just really need to, I've got a couple of these filters. So we put the filters back. Some of them did notice that, you know, I would replace these little cork fittings, but I'm gonna, just to try, I'm going to go and throw these back in there, and hopefully it'll seal up. Should seal up. We'll have to just kind of tack them on there until I can measure that fuel line and make sure it's all. That's the only trick really, is that you have to measure the fuel line so that you get this out of the way of the starter when the starter goes in. If you haven't seen me do this before, check out the 850 series, Mercury 850, 85 horsepower.